Divya, can you please mute everyone?
Yes, ma'am, sure.
Thank you.
अरे एक मिनट यार
Uh, we welcome everyone for this NDLS, which is on active monitoring of DTG adverse effects. At the outset, I would like to welcome Dr. Melissa and her team, Dr. Eshu, Dr. Ramesh, and the team from ITEC led by Dr. Anwar. And we also have our Share India team and all the ART centers who are joining today. I'm sure, I think there are some SACs also who have joined. So thank you for joining and taking out time. This is really important because this session that we are going to have today is going to teach us how to do active monitoring. Another program, we always do routine monitoring for various indicators. So this dolutegravir, which is a new ARV drug which has recently been introduced under the program, is not only safe, potent, and well tolerated, but also it has very few side effects. So this is what the evidence we have gathered from other countries where DTG has already been enrolled, and also in India in some of the private sector patients, this drug has also been used. This evidence is actually not enough. We need more evidence to say that yes, this drug has the least side effects. Because I want all of you to remember that any adverse effect of any ARV drug will adversely affect the adherence. So let's always remember this, that if my drug is having a lot of side effects and adverse effects, that's a first point against the adherence. So if we really want this DTG, which is being given lifelong, the patients who are on DTG should be adherent to the drug. So we have to first ensure that the adverse effects are detected on time. The adverse effects, if any, are managed properly at the ART centers. And that is not enough. We need to record and monitor these aspects as well. So you must have got the guidance, the OMs that have been sent from NACO recently, that we want the adverse effects of dolutegravir based regimens to be monitored at every center. In the routine system, we do have our white card, wherein we have a section where any side effect or adverse effect of any drug should be recorded. So what has come to our notice in last few years, that at most of the centers, the white card columns for adverse effect are vacant. And also this is not being reported in the monthly reports. So again, I like to urge that though we are doing active monitoring in some centers, we are not going to stop the routine monitoring system through the white card and monthly reports. So what we thought, that we need more data and more evidence at certain centers. And we are fortunate that CDC in partnership with ITEC and Share India is going to support us in this activity. So what we want from our ART centers who are participating in today's meeting is, please ensure that every patient who is started on DTG, be it a new initiation, be it switching, substitution, or any type of transitioning, if any patient is started, then the recording of the adverse effect has to be done. And our partners are there to help us to ensure how we do this active monitoring, how we do a little more close monitoring of all patients, how do we record data, how do we report it on a monthly basis, and what do we do with this data. So having said this, I'd like to let you know that we have selected around 60 centers in the country, so which are centers of excellence and pediatric centers of excellence, and some ART and ART plus centers. So we hope that you all the centers who have assembled here take cognizance of this fact. They learn how to do the recording and reporting, because unless you train someone, they will not know how to record and where to report. So if you have any doubt, any query, please park your questions to the end of the session. We have a presentation by Dr. Reshu, Dr. Ramesh, and Dr. Anwar. So go through the process, and any questions, please feel free to ask. Maybe you can write in the chat box, or you can ask, unmute yourself and ask after the session is over. So this, what is the process? When do you start? Who does what job? Please make sure that you know all this. So very simple formats are there. You just have to fill that. And we hope, we don't want to overburden you, because we know you all are already overburdened with a lot of work. This is not an additional work, but it's very minimally going to add on to your work, but it will have a very big impact when we talk about the country scenario. So each of you, if you're filling up that 1-2 pager format, is actually contributing in a big way to the country's report, because India has a large number of patients, and many of these are going to be on DTG. So we need to really document each and every patient's adverse effects, if any is reported. So Dr. Naresh Goyal was supposed to be here. So our DTG will join maybe at the end of this session. I welcome everyone for this fruitful discussion. And so thank you. Over to you, Dr. Reshu.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chinmay, and thanks for setting the context and introducing the topic. I'll just get into the session now. So as Dr. Chinmay already discussed, that today's session is about active monitoring of adverse effects of dolutegravir, which is a new drug being introduced in the program. And NACO is actually planning to do this activity. And today's session is basically the first orientation for this activity. And as Dr. Chinmay said, that we will have no more discussions and more hand holding if required as we go ahead with this activity. So for today's session, this session is divided into 4 parts. So we would be discussing about the rationale for monitoring the adverse effect of ARV drugs, that why should we do the monitoring, and Dr. Chinmay already laid a background for that. Then we will be discussing about the implementation plan, as was discussed that 60 sites have been selected to do active monitoring of adverse effects of DTG. So we will be discussing about the implementation plan of this active monitoring. And then we will be discussing about the recording and reporting tools, like what tools we need to use when we are doing the active monitoring. So we already use Whitecard at the ART centers, and then with this we are introducing one additional form at the ART center. So we will be discussing about that form in detail. And then at the last, we will discuss about the standard operating procedures for active adverse effect monitoring. So coming to the first part of the session, rationale for monitoring of adverse effects of ARVs. So as you all know that we have almost 1.4 million or 14 lakh patients on ART in the country, as Dr. Chinmay said. And so the number or the volume of patients which we have in our country is huge. And now the program has decided to implement or adopt DTG based regimen, and you have been getting all these office memorandums to start your new patients on DTG based regimen, or to switch or substitute your existing patients to DTG based regimen. So all patients who are all adults, adolescents, and even the children who are weighing more than 20 kg or are more than 6 years of age are to be put on a DTG based regimen in a phased manner. Next slide. And why program has adopted DTG? So as we all know, and till now, we have had a lot of sessions on on benefits of DTG while we were talking about the introduction of DTG based regimen in the national program. So we know that this drug is comparatively more potent drug, and it helps in a very rapid viral load suppression, and average time taken for viral load suppression is nearly 4 weeks as compared to 12 weeks with other drugs or efavirenz. In terms of toxicities or adverse effects, this drug, because as Dr. Chinmay was saying, if a drug has adverse effects, obviously it will lead to non-adherence or discontinuation. So with DTG, it has been found that the discontinuation rates have been very minimal and only to the tune of 2% as compared to with the other drugs. And especially you would remember when we had the Mission Sampark drive, we actually interviewed some of the patients who became LFU, and the adverse effects of efavirenz came as one of the major factors there for patients for not being adherent to the treatment or becoming LFU. This drug is more potent, and there are no treatment emergent resistance across the trials. So this is not known as of now. Then this drug also has minimal drug interactions with other drugs, so it can be used with most of the drugs, hormones, contraceptives, even if the patient is having some comorbid condition. So it goes well with those treatments also. The only thing is when we talk about HIV TB co-infection, so these patients require additional dose of 50 milligram DTG when they are on anti-TB treatment. Then this drug has a higher genetic barrier, effective against HIV too, and it is also helping in harmonization of the ARV regimen across the patient. So now, with this, I know right now a lot of office memorandums are coming, and this transition is happening in a slow phase. So there might be some chaos, but down the line, once this transition is completed, so 90% of our patients would be on a DTG based regimen. So this would actually help in optimization the ARV regimen, and also simplifying the treatment. So it will be very easy to follow up all our patients, and also to maintain the supply chains and logistics. Next slide, please. So coming to the adverse effects. So we talked about why DTG was introduced. Now about adverse effects. So why do, and especially when we are saying that DTG is comparatively a safe drug, very few side effects are known, and it is very well tolerated. Even then, we are talking about the need for monitoring of adverse effect of DTG. So this is agreed that this is safe drug, but then the data which is available is in most of the cases it is available from research studies, trials, and from the real world or from program settings. No, not much data is available on DTG adverse effects. Also, as I said, during the course of time, DTG would be the most common drug being used in the program. So it is very important that from the very beginning we have systems in place to monitor the adverse effect and to be vigilant, so that and we are able to establish the safety profile and intervene in a timely manner if our patients are having any issues with DTG based regimens. The data from, and we will discuss this in more detail. So the data from one of the studies which was done in Brazil in the program settings, the side effects reported were only to the tune of 2.24%, which is comparatively very low as compared to other drugs. But now, WHO has indicated about the potential risk or potential signals of weight gain with DTG, especially when it is used with TAF. But again, because this is a new drug in our population, we do not know how our patients are going to respond to this drug. So, I mean, it might be very well tolerated, and or our patients might have some issues like weight gain or high BP or metabolic syndrome. So that this is something we should know, and we should have systems in place from very beginning to understand these issues. So therefore, it is very important, whenever we are introducing a new drug, to know the short-term, intermediate, as well as long-term adverse effects, because it's a lifelong treatment, and we don't want our patients to suffer, and we should be able to take any timely action if required. So as Dr. Chinmay said, that I mean, when you're doing this activity, the data which you are collecting and you're sharing with NACO, that will help NACO to inform the policy decisions in going future and decide about the optimal regimen for patients. So that's why this activity is very important. Coming to some of the common adverse effects of ARV drugs. So we know all ARV drugs do have some sort of side effects. And from our experience, we know that most of the ARV drugs have some sort of gastrointestinal disorders, nausea, diarrhea, body pain, headache, fatigue, rash, or neuropsychiatric symptoms such as dizziness or sleepiness. Yeah. So for DTG, I mean, obviously it's a new drug and we don't have much data available. So we have data available from 3 countries which actually rolled out a DTG based regimen very early in 2016 or 2017. And from Botswana, the cohort of 57,000 patients was followed, and the adverse effect rates were 1%. So 1% of the total patients like reported any adverse effect. In Brazil, a cohort of nearly 1 lakh patients was followed, and nearly 2% patients reported any adverse effect. And in Kenya, a cohort of 11,000 patients was followed, and 7% of the patients reported to have any adverse effects. Next slide. Uh, Previous one, yeah. So from the Brazil study, we know that the common symptoms which were reported, or the common adverse effects which were reported by the patients, were nausea, diarrhea, headache, dizziness, insomnia, drowsiness, vomiting, itching, abdominal pain, and alopecia. So these were the common symptoms. But again, as we discussed in the previous slide, the prevalence or the rates of adverse effects was very low, only 2.24%. Right. And of these 2.24%, if we see like no how severe were these side effects, so out of these 2.24%, only 88% of the patients reported that their side effects were not serious. So they were not like they were very mild or like no self-limiting ones. 0.68% patients had side effects or adverse effects which put their lives to the risk. Nearly 1% caused persistent or a severe disability. 1.42% patients needed hospitalization, and with nearly 9% of the patient, they did not need any hospitalization, but their side effects were considered to be severe or like no were thought to be like no not mild. But again, like this is only for the out of the 2.24% of the patients. So overall you see like no even like no in such a big cohort of like no 1 lakh patients, the overall prevalence of side effects was very low, and most of the side effects were very mild or non-severe. Next slide. So coming to the approaches for monitoring of adverse effects. So WHO actually recommends like 2 approaches. One is called the routine monitoring and the other is called the active monitoring. So routine monitoring is something which is integrated into the overall systems of the ART clinics, or the like no the routinely what you do, and it is integrated in your white card. So all ART centers are supposed to do routine monitoring. Like no whenever the patient comes to you, you have this like no under section 13, you have this column for adverse effect or side effects, and that's where you have to like mention the side effects, and if the patient is having any adverse effect or side effects, they have to be like managed appropriately as per the technical guidelines of NACO, and then they have to be like reported to NACO. So that is basically a routine implementation, and this is like anyways done at the ART centers. But then the issue is, and this routine monitoring is good enough, but then like no in our program we have some issues with the routine monitoring, because usually like no all providers are very busy at times. Like no you tend to miss the adverse effects, or not able to like relate the adverse effect with the drug. If the patient is complaining some symptom or some problem, it's really difficult at times to like no to associated with the ARV drug. So usually like no we give some sort of a like no treatment to the patient for relief, but then we don't report it. So at times like no there's under reporting or under diagnosis of the adverse effects. Even if they are like no diagnosed, they are not properly like documented in white cards. They are not as Dr. Chinmay was saying, they are not reported in the monthly progress report or in the IMS or in the SOCH. So at national level it is very like no difficult to make any interpretation or make any decisions based on the information which comes through the routine monitoring. And we definitely need to strengthen the systems for routine monitoring. And therefore, as an add-on activity, when DTG is being rolled out, NACO has decided to do the active monitoring. Next slide, please. So when we say active monitoring, that means that it has to be done, or it complements the routine monitoring. So this is something which is done in addition to the routine monitoring, which is like no done at all your ART center. And it is like no it actually helps to serve in enhanced monitoring or intensified monitoring of the patients in terms of adverse effects, and also a proper or a systematic data collection and reporting of the adverse effects. So that's the only additional piece we are planning through this activity. And um, now, like no, this active monitoring is being planned to be implemented at 60 centers across the country, which includes the COEs, PCOEs, and select ART centers. Next slide. So if there are any questions for this session, I'm happy to answer. Otherwise, I can move to the next session. So I think I'll move to the next session now. So now we will discuss about the implementation plan for this active monitoring. So next slide, please. So when we are talking about this active monitoring, the purpose or the objectives of doing this activity are basically threefold. One is to strengthen the existing routine systems to detect, monitor, respond, and report to the adverse effects of ARV drugs. So as Dr. Chinmay was saying, like, no, anyways, this is the mandate of the ART centers to detect any adverse effect in a timely manner, to monitor the patients for adverse effects, to respond or to provide management for the adverse effects, and to report the adverse effects to NACO, which is like no routinely done, but then we want to strengthen that existing system so that we don't have any gaps in detecting, monitoring, and reporting the adverse effects. Second objective is basically, especially that is with the introduction of DTG based regimen, that for the Indian population, we want to understand the frequency and the severity of the known and unknown adverse effects. Like, no, I mean, because we do not know how our patients or our Indian patients would respond to this drug. So we want to understand, like, what happens, or do they have the similar kind of side effects which are reported in other countries, or do they have something different, or do they have like no very mild or not even that kind of side effects, so our patients might not have any side effects also. So that is something we want to like to understand from this activity. Also, to understand the association between the adverse effects on retention, because as was rightly mentioned by Dr. Chinmay, that if adverse effects are there, it actually impacts the adherence and retention to care. So we want to understand that association between when we are rolling out the DTG based regimen, because the overall, like, no, the studies say that the discontinuation rates because of DTG are very low. So in our country, we want to understand that. So we want to understand the association between retention in care, regimen substitution, how many patients like no had a side effect which required a substitution of the drugs, and also the treatment outcomes. Next slide. So the operational definitions for this activity, I mean, in the last slide, we actually discussed like these four things. One is like no active monitoring. So active monitoring means that a PLHIV enrolled for monitoring are proactively assessed. So proactively assessed means that you don't wait for the patient to complain for anything, but like whenever the patient is coming or whenever you are interacting with the patient, you will proactively ask the patient that are you having any issues or any problems, any symptoms after you started this drug. You will also use like no, I mean, we say like no, observation. So when the patient is sitting with you, you have to observe, like no, you might be having some skin rash or something which might be very peculiar. So you have to like know, based on your observation, you have to like make an assessment, examine the patient, or something might be reported by the patient or patient's relative. So everything is like no is considered as like no assessment of the patient for adverse effect, and this is like no being done in an active manner without waiting for the patient to tell you anything, because at times for patients also it is very difficult. They are not able to like no relate many of the symptoms with the drugs. So they might have something but might not even complain to you, right? And especially like no this could be done like no active monitoring when the patient is visiting your ARD center, or whenever you are interacting with the patient on phones um, or on the field. Then the second thing is adverse effect. So what is an adverse effect? And in this active monitoring, how are we defining it? It's a response which is harmful or unintended, which is like unwanted, and it occurs at doses normally which are used for prophylaxis, diagnosis, or therapy of the disease, or for modification of the physiological function. So that means if you are giving a therapeutic dose, approved therapeutic dose to the patient, and even that if he develops any unintended or any harmful symptom or response after taking the drug, that would qualify to be an adverse effect. Adverse effects are usually characterized by some causal relationship. So you will be able to like suspect or think, oh, this happened after starting of the drug. So you will have like some sort of relationship between the start of the drug or exposure to the drug and also the occurrence of the symptoms. Then for adverse effects, we are like classifying them into two things: known adverse effects and unknown adverse effects. So known adverse effects means like which are described in the literature. So I mean I discussed about the data available from the Brazil study and then even from the trials. So all those like insomnia, headache, dizziness, so these are like known side effects for this drug, and these are described in the literature. But when we talk about our patients, we might get some new symptoms, some new signals also, and these would like no I mean these may not be documented in the literature. So these are called unknown or side effects. So these are like persistent, and like maybe when we are doing at 60 sites, so say 20 sites are reporting that my patient is like having this kind of a peculiar symptom. So that means that is something which is new in our population, in our patients, and is coming up. So that is like no unknown adverse effect. So you will get some signals first, and then you will like based on those signals, if we get it from all the ART centers, everyone starts saying that like my patients are having this problem. So that means that's a adverse effect which was not known earlier, but we found after doing this activity. Next. So for this activity, this is active monitoring. So as we said, this is like more intensified or active monitoring, and we already defined active monitoring. And here you are actually like following a cohort of patients. Whomever you start on a DTG based regimen, that patient would be followed up. So this is like the kind of monitoring which is being done in this activity. The sites where it is being implemented are basically the COEs, select ART plus centers, ART centers, and the pediatric centers of excellence. So which patients are to be monitored when you are implementing this activity? So all the patients who are newly initiated or transitioned to a DTG based regimen, whether it is first line, second line, or third line. So any patient who is like now given a DTG based regimen, whether it is a new initiation or a substitution or a switch, all these patients qualify to be part of this monitoring, and this activity would be started at your ART centers from Monday, that is 8th of February 2021. So from that date till the month of May or June, and NACO will take a call on that. So and we'll let you know. So till the month of May and June, all the patients who are started newly or shifted to a DTG based regimen are to be followed. The follow-up period is 2 years. So this cohort would be followed up for 2 years, and for first 6 months, the follow-up has to be done on a monthly basis, and then quarterly basis. And as I said earlier, the follow-up can be done during the patient's visit at the ART centers. And if the patients are on MMD or they are at link ART centers, then a telephonic follow-up has to be done. Next slide. So the information has to be collected in white cards, which you routinely do, section 13, and all the other like basic information which you collect in the white card, and we will discuss that in detail. And then in addition, we are introducing a AE monitoring form, adverse effect monitoring form, for this specific exercise. Reporting, so the data which is collected in the AE form will be captured in a Excel based tool, which is AE reporting tool, and that reporting tool has to be shared with NACO on the given mail ID. So this mail ID is there, aemonitoring.naco@gmail.com. So on this dedicated mail ID, you will be sending your reports. For first 3 months, the report has to be sent on a weekly basis, and then thereafter it has to be sent by 5th of every month. For the analysis, NACO would be undertaking the analysis, and then will also be providing you feedback on any major findings or deviations, if there are any issues or any corrective action needs to be done, or if there are some complicated cases which needs like more attention from experts. So all those feedbacks would be provided by NACO to the sites who are doing the active monitoring. And quarterly review meeting will also be done, and in these meetings basically the quarterly data which is collected would be discussed, and then the adverse effects would be like discussed, and like if there is a frequency of these adverse effects, that would be discussed. If any new signal is coming in our patients, or a new symptom is coming in our patient, that would be discussed. And then if you have like some case with a peculiar symptom, or like something very new is coming up, so we will discuss those case studies during these quarterly meetings, and also the follow-up actions. Next slide. So with this active monitoring, NACO wants to understand the following indicators. One is the proportion of patients reported adverse effects. So when you start somebody on a DTG based regimen, so what proportion of patients from those who are started would be having any adverse effect. Then also to understand the severity of these adverse effects, whether our patients are having severe side effect, or moderate, or mild, and also the duration, what was the duration of that side effect, that lasted for a week, or for a month, or it is like a very long lasting adverse effect. So that's something which needs to be understood, and this piece is actually not collected in the white cards. Then also the average or the median time between the exposure to DTG based regimen and the adverse effect. Average change in the weight and the BMI, because as I said, WHO has indicated that there is a signal coming about the weight gain and deviation in the BMI. Then percentage of the women with childbearing potential enrolled in this activity and got pregnant, and the birth outcomes in these women who are exposed to DTG based regimen at the time of conception. Though the global data on this now suggests that the potential risk has come down, and the risk is comparable with the other ARV regimen. So there's nothing it is not a very significant signal which is being now, which is it's not being considered as a very high level of a potential risk for neural tube defect now. But I think when we are doing this active monitoring, it's good to understand for our population also. Then percentage of the patients retained at 6, 12, and 24 months, virally suppressed at 6, 12, and 24 months, and also the patients who required a change in the regimen because of the side effects or the adverse effects. Next slide. So in terms of roles and responsibilities, SACS would be overall coordinating with NACO COEs and ART centers in terms of the overall implementation of these activities, trainings, attendance or participation in the quarterly meetings. And then whenever the SACS officials are visiting, they should assess the completeness and how this activity is being implemented during their supportive supervision visits. And also they should ensure that the stocks of DTG based regimen are available at the sites. For the participating COEs or PCOEs or ART plus centers, ART centers, obviously they have to implement this activity. Actively detect, manage, record, and report adverse effect, which is anyways the current guideline that all ART centers are supposed to do it. Then they provide inputs based on the local experience. You might in your local geography, you might have a very different symptom coming out, so that needs to be you could basically provide input on that, and then share the reports with NACO on a periodic basis. And at the ART centers, the overall activity would be done under the supervision of the nodal officers. Next slide. So if there are any questions on the implementation plan, we can take up those questions quickly, and then we can move to recording and reporting session.
Ma'am, there are a few questions in the chat box. I can read for you.
Sure.
Yeah. So there is one question, if severe adverse effects or unknown adverse effects, can we change the old regimen?
So you have to do the grading as per the NACO technical guidelines, and for grade 3 and grade 4 you can change the regimen. For grade 1 it's usually like, you give a symptomatic relief. So this is something we will be discussing in our subsequent slides also. So in terms of like, overall management guidelines for the patients, nothing is changing. Whatever you have in the technical guidelines, the management or like no substitution has to be done based on those guidelines only. Yeah, Divya.
Next question is, should we do PVL after 6 months for patients transition to TLD?
So the PVL has to be done as per the NACO guidelines. For the new patients, it has to be done at 6 months, and then and for the older patients, it has to be done annually.
Okay, and the last question is insomnia a adverse effect of DDG after switching from TLE?
So the data from Brazil showed that. We do not know about our patients. So I mean, we could have this like no issue, this adverse effect in our patients, or may not be, but this is something which was reported in the Brazil study.
Ma'am, there are no further questions.
Okay, so
Okay, ma'am.
Dr. Ramesh, over to you.
Good afternoon, all. So now we come to the third part of the session. Very important piece here is on monitoring and documenting things. So before I start, if you all have the hard copies of the tools that was emailed to you, so there is one tool, AE monitoring tool, and there is another Excel which you might have not got, but if you have them, put them ready with you. Before that, we will go through the white card first. So currently, we have a white card where we are uh, reporting our substitutions, which whenever there is a change of regimen to any patient, we are documenting it in section number 6. So this is how it is on your first page of the white card. The next slide, we will just zoom it up and see. Next slide, please. Yeah, so in the next slide, what you're seeing here is whenever there is a patient who is put on DDG based regimen, so it could be substitution. That is, substitution can be in terms of whenever now currently we are transitioning the patients, whenever there is a viral suppression in him, we are putting that patient on a DTG based regimen as per the guideline. And there is another group of patients where we actually look the viral load, and if it is not suppressed, or if you think that he is failing any other regimen, then we say we are switching that particular patient from the previous regimen to a DTG containing regimen. So the clinching thing here is based on your viral load, what you're doing, either it is a substitution or a simple switching. So transitioning is also, we are considering something around substitution, but you can mention it in the columns given to you in the white card. Now, once we put the patient on a DTG based regimen, okay, it could be even a, except patients who are newly started on ART, this column needs to be filled for every patient whoever is on DTG based regimen. So that is the first thing we need to understand. The current tools, we need to enter them. Next slide. Now, we also want to understand whether there are any drug interactions, whether a patient is suffering from an illness or a comorbidity, either from a non-communicable disease, or whether it is in the baseline or whenever it is coming newly as the patient progresses on antiretroviral therapy. So here we are seeing a section, which is a section 8, 9. In the section 9, that is a medical history, we have non-communicable diseases. If a patient is having any of these, we tick that. For example, diabetes, we tick it. And then if you want to write in detail about that, not if you want, we need to document the details about it. For example, when was this diabetes diagnosed? What is the treatment started? You can write the drugs, what the patient is getting, and how he is progressing. So you could also use these columns for any of those above mentioned NCDs, not just for hepatitis B, C, CALAs or anything. So NCDs also can be part of this detailed process. And we have also heard about pregnancy, and there are certain side effects currently which are very mildly associated with DTG. However, we also need the details of this pregnant woman. It is not just for this group of patients. As a practice, every medical officer has to document all the changes that you are seeing or the details that we need for a pregnant woman presenting to the ART center. So this is the place where we can have the information. Next slide. And for investigations, this is section number 12. So any investigation that we are doing to a patient needs with a date and what is the value that you are seeing here to be noted. Next slide. This is important again. This is the common section, that is section 13, whenever a patient is coming for a follow-up. So here we are looking at what are the opportunistic infections that the patient is having. It is very important to document here. And we all have certain, if you see below, opportunistic infection, everything has a code. We just want you to write the code there. And then whether a patient is on CPT or IPT is very important for us to document it in the white card here, because patients who is put on DTG based regimen newly, we want to understand whether there could be a drug-drug interaction between these drugs and the concomitant use of DTG. So if we have to document, the primary document will be this. So whether a patient is on CPT, IPT, and also any ART side effects. So you see a side effect box down, and you will also learn in my subsequent slides that there will be some extra side effects that you need to look into, or you can have some code. So you can use that code book, what we are going to give you here also, to put up the codes for side effect. So that is another thing what I want you all to practice from now on. So we have already given certain codes. So the same thing you can transcribe here in your ART side effects. And if you have any remarks or referrals that you're making it, those can be in the column number 16. So this is routinely what we are doing, but don't miss these things. Don't think that we are documenting in another place, and don't refrain yourself from doing your routine work of documenting these things in the white card. Next slide. Yes. So now you have an AE form, that is Adverse Event Monitoring form. And you have another thing called as an AE tool. So be very clear and careful whenever you use the nomenclature. So when we are talking about form, it is a Word document that we are talking about. When I say a tool, that means I'm talking of an Excel-based tool. So don't, if you have any query or if you want to discuss among the peers or anything, don't confuse yourself. So stick to your nomenclature. As when you are talking about form, it is a Word document which needs to be in the ART center. There is no need to share this particular form either on an email or anything to anybody. So be very clear. So we are talking about an AE form. Now, Divya has shared with all of you this. Whoever has a hard copy of it, please take it out. It will be very useful as we go through the subsequent slides. Now in this AE form, the first section from section number 1 to section number 16 are the details that you are having during that current visit. What are the patient details? So we are just writing the facility name and date of enrollment in AE monitoring. Suppose a patient is coming to you on Monday who is already on a DTG based regimen, don't include him here. You have to include only patients who are going to be newly given the drugs. So when I say given, that means either newly initiated because it's a new patient, or any other switching or substitution as we discussed earlier. Only those patients you have to put here, but not who are already on a DTG based regimen coming for a follow-up. So that is the date. From 8th February we are starting it. And patient number, all these are there with us. And very carefully, baseline weight on that day when you are initiating DTG, what is the weight of the patient? And don't just write here, let it also go to the white card, weight of the patient, height, blood glucose, So it depends on what you have, whether it is either a fasting blood glucose or it is a random blood glucose, but write it whether it is a random or a fasting blood glucose that we have done to the patient. And then blood pressure. And if the patient, whoever is coming at baseline or
Sorry,
during the morning, yeah.
Dr. Ramesh, just to clarify here, so preferably if you can get a fasting blood glucose done, that is like preferable. But if that's not possible, you can go for a random blood sugar also.
Yeah. So when you get those test results, be very careful to write there whether it is random or it is fasting blood sugar. Otherwise, we will not be able to follow the next laboratory test that you get during the follow-up. We will make a separate column there and share again this one. The next is a blood pressure. And if a pregnant woman is coming at any point of time, either at the baseline or during the monitoring period, we need to definitely have this last menstrual period and what is the outcome of that particular pregnancy. And then comorbidities, this is again at the baseline. So whenever a patient is being initiated on a DTG-based regimen, initiated, substituted, or switched on a DTG-based regimen, on that day, we have to note whether the patient has tuberculosis, epilepsy, diabetes, these things, and any other comorbidity on that day. And then on that day, whether the patient is on any concomitant medication or not. Now, why it is important is even before we are starting a patient on a DTG-based regimen, it is very important for us to know this. After he gets a side effect, to ask the patient whether you are on these drug and all, it's going to be a bit challenging. With most of our patients may not even know what drugs they are on. So we want to be very careful even during the first initial day when the patient is being initiated on a DTG based regimen. We want to know what are the other medications the patient is on. Now we have just given some check boxes for the medical officer to fill up whether it is antihypertensive, multivitamins and all. We encourage you to elicit the name of the drug that the patient is taking. That is very important from the medical officer or the senior medical officer to write the drugs that the patient is already on. And if the patient is not on any concomitant medications, please check off none. Even for the above ones, check off none. If a patient is not having any comorbidities, don't just leave it blank. If you leave it blank, we consider it as data not reported, data is not being filled up. It is incomplete. So try to look at every variable that we have and see whether you are checking off none or not. Because this will go next to the data manager or subsequently anybody in your center who has to do this into a Excel-based tool. So if you're leaving it as a gap, he will also leave it as a gap. He will not think that it is a none or others and fill something. So that is very important to fill every variable. Even if it is none, put it none. Now coming to type of patient. Now what do you check off for type of patient? So number one option is if he is a newly initiated. So a patient is coming on Monday. You have evaluated him, you have your baselines, labs done, everything. Clinically, he is competent, fit. And then now you're putting the patient on a DTG-based regimen. So he is a new patient for you, forever initiated for the first time on antiretroviral therapy. Next, if it is a substitution, we already got the substitution. And whether he is a second line substitution, substituted to a DTG-based second line or a third line. So these are the patients whom you will be prospectively putting them on second line or third line, not the patients who are already on DTG. And suppose you tick for a patient, you have selected 3 or 4. For example, you have selected 4, substitution to a DTG-based second line regimen. So suppose you have ticked that particular option, then you should also write about what is that third line regimen, what is that regimen that the patient was before you started this DTG based regimen. Now, there is one attachment that is given to you. So in that attachment, we have codes. We have box 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 like that. So in the first box that you can see, you can just go a couple of slides ahead. Divya. Yeah. So if you see, this is the first box that we have. So there is no need to remember how to write. Can I write it as A, B, C, 3, T, C, E, F, E, or can I write the full names? Don't bother much about that. There are set codes for you. You just select one of them that the patient was on prior to initiating a DTG-based regimen and put that number carefully from here. So your guidance is very clear. What is that number I have to put? So for example, if a patient is already on TLE based regimen, his viral load is suppressed, and today now you are going to put the patient on Monday on a TLD based regimen, you have to put up code 5. That is, a patient was previously on the 5th regimen. Now we are going to put him on DTG based regimen. And what is your new regimen? That is in box 2, you can see. Now, if a patient was on, for example, on 5th one, that is TLE based regimen, and now you want to put the patient on a TLD based regimen, your new regimen is C, that is TLD, tenofovir, lamivudine, and dolutegravir based regimen. That C you will have to put it there. So these are the codes that you need to follow. This code book is very, you have to use it in the first few at least for first 1 month, you have to drill yourself using this code book and put it in front of you and put the appropriate code. If you are going to change the codes, put something else, we will not able to get good data. Whatever hard work you are doing, and for the national program, whatever we are doing, we will not be able to get a meaningful data out of it. So be very careful while you write the codes. Good. Now, I told you the new regimen that the patient is going to start. So next thing is current side effects. So does the patient have any side effects? We again have a code box, that is box number 6. This is the box of a side effects. Whenever a patient is coming on the next month for your review and you identify that the patient is complaining of any one of these, when you ask the patient actively a question, how to ask, we will see in the subsequent slides. But when you ask a patient and he's telling one of these, you have to note the code of this. For example, I am presenting you, when you asked me a question, I told, sir, I am having headache. So you will take the code number 10 and write it there. Go back now. And you're going to write it as code number 10 there. Now, where you will check it, you will write it on the, for example, he's coming next month to you. So there you are going to write the side effect. So wherever there is an SE, the current side effect, there you're going to write. Now we are also going to write, next thing is the grade of the side effect. So whenever we say grade of the side effect, we need to understand whether it is a mild, moderate, severe, or a life-threatening reaction. That's why most of our side effects are graded from mild to severe. And there are some questions popping out on the chat box, like should I change a regimen or not? So if you see what action you need to take, first is we need to define, how do I say it is a mild reaction, sir? Here you go. So if it is just causing a discomfort, not interfering with your daily activity, then we call it as a mild. Then if it is causing a discomfort, but you're able to do routine activities, patient daily activities not disrupted too. Likewise, if it is a life-threatening, we call it as a 4. And what actions you need to take based on each: continue ARVs, don't stop ARV. For example, if you are having a grade 3 reaction, substitute offending drug without discontinuing the ART. Monitor the patient closely. And then immediately discontinue all drugs, including ARVs, if it is a stage 4. So these are some of the actions and some guidances to take action. Taking an action is important, and also to note down what is the type of reaction that you are seeing in that patient. So that's why every side effect that the patient has complained to you, or you have observed, or you have got it over a phone call, you have to ask these subsequent questions, not just saying, sir, headache, I have checked it off as number 10, but what is the grade of it? It's a mild headache. Then the logical other question that you're going to ask on the side effect is, what is the onset of that side effect. Now, when I say onset, you need to write the date when it has come to the patient. So here you see here what is the onset is our next column, next row. So you need to write this. So this is for one side effect that you are seeing, and the date of onset needs to be in a month and a Y format. Now, there is again some questions, sir. What if he presents with 2 side effects, 3 side effects? Yes, here you see there is some space given to you. If this is for one side effect, there is SE. If it is a second side effect, you write that column, that row. And if it is a third one, you can put it. So you have some space for each visit to monitor it continuously, or you can also have a new one coming and you can add a new one. Okay. Now, because of this side effect, the patient may be missing some doses. Dr. Reshu had told during the data collection of some LFUs or anything, what they have told is that because of side effects, we did not come back to the center. We missed so many pills. So we need to capture this very important information. Is that side effect so much troublesome to the patient in terms of not even liking to take the drugs that we are offering to? So we should say yes. And what are the number of drugs the patient has missed because of this one? So if a patient is not missing, please check off no. Then follow-up outcomes. Now again, going back then the next thing is, what are the comorbidities that the particular person is having? Again, here we have the code box from box number 3, whatever we have discussed earlier in terms of hypertension. This is TB, epilepsy, diabetes, heart disease. All these are the comorbidities that the patient has. If anything are there, we need to check off here again. Whether it is coming newly is one that we will have to put up here. Baseline you have already collected. But because there is nothing that you have recorded in the baseline that is in the upper section from section 1 to 16, here we have to again look into whether this particular patient is having any concomitant medications or comorbidities. Then what are the actions that we have taken? So again, there is a code. Go back to box 7. You will find that because of this, I have changed the regimen of the patient. The regimen is not changed and the regimen has been stopped completely. So this again depends on your grading. Suppose you don't grade the patient and you just change it, you will not be able to enter the data in the tool. And there's not a good practice to actually substitute without knowing why the patient is either substituted or stopped treatment. And next, whether the patient was hospitalized or not. If not, then we say no. If yes, then the reasons for that. Then what are the follow-up outcomes? So the follow-up outcomes are nothing but these are the outcomes, whatever we are giving to a patient based on the outcome of the particular side effect that we are monitoring over time. For example, if a patient has come with the same headache and you have appropriate therapy assurance has been given, it is only a mild grade of headache that the patient is getting, then you are going to see whether it has improved over time. That is number one, or it is resolved, or the patient, if you are taking anything like a skin rash, it is recovered, but there are certain sequelae related to that, and the patient has died or anything else. So you will have certain outcomes of following up that particular adverse event. So when you have that adverse event, for example, when you say improving, you have to, how is it defined? That is either it is decreasing in the grade of toxicity or it is improving as a lab marker. That is, for example, if a patient whom you have has hyperglycemia and now it is decreasing over time, that you say improving when there is either a decrease in the lab parameter or the glucose levels that you're monitoring. Then patient reporting lesser intensity of severity, So this is how you have to define the adverse event and then monitor and give an outcome or the follow-up outcome of that adverse event. Next. Once we have given the follow-up outcomes, every month, if there are set of investigations that you are doing as per that particular, per that adverse event that you are looking at, we need to do some lab tests. So for example, if you say that the patient is having hyperglycemia, we are monitoring that particular adverse event over time. So those values need to be put here. Or if you're looking at an elevated lipid profile coming at the baseline whenever the patient has complained of a side effect related to hepatotoxicity, you have done it. You have done your LFT. That you need to keep monitoring over time and recording it here. And then the status of the patient is nothing but status of the patient on antiretroviral therapy, whether the patient has died, whether he is LFU. So all our 5 outcomes that we usually give to a patient on antiretroviral therapy, the same outcomes. And then the reporter name. So this we have to specifically look at every patient visit whenever a patient is coming to our enrolled in the care is coming to our ART center. So until now, what we have discussed is the AE monitoring tool or form. It is a form, okay? It is a Word document. It is going to be within the patient's white card only. Now, based on that AE monitoring form that you have filled for each of the patient, it is going to a data manager now who will look into that form and start populating the data in the white card. In the AE monitoring tool. So the AE monitoring tool is will be either filled in by the data manager or the data entry operators or the program assistants, wherever you have some of these additional stuff put in. So this is an Excel-based sheet. You will have first a basic information. So the basic information is, again, you are just transcribing that from the AE form that you are collecting over in the hard copy, and you're putting those things in the Excel sheet. So you see all this, what is the facility and what is the date of enrollment, ART number, all these you know. Now there will be some cells, for example, only if it is pregnant, then this, you will have to say whether the is pregnant at baseline or not. No. And if it is during the monitoring period, if it is yes, you need to again come back here and fill that information of when this particular pregnant, when this patient who is being monitored for adverse reactions is becoming pregnant. That date and all needs to be inputted here in this particular form. Or else there is no need to come back to this form at all. Once you filled it, it is all the baseline information that you are having from column 1 to 14. Next. Next slide. Yeah, 15 to 21 is also same. If you can open the Excel.
Yes, sir. I'm just stop my share and then I'll share the Excel. Yeah.
Sure. So you can see the Excel sheet. Yeah.
So is it visible?
Yes, yes. Thanks. So this Excel sheet also has some inbuilt drop-down menu. For example, the patient, you're putting him on a baseline regimen. You're collecting data on, or you're collecting data on baseline regimen. You can go to column number. Yeah. So the current regimen of the patient, if you want to know, you have a drop-down menu. So from there, whatever is there in the whatever is recorded in the AE form, the data entry operator will just put up here 3, then it will pop up. And the type of patient. So we have this drop-down menu for most of the variables. So it is pretty much standardized. Don't change the form. Don't try to tinker anything. Whatever form you get, you will have to put it up as is, because all these will get disrupted if you try to play with the sheet. So one thing to all the medical officers is to monitor possibly on filling up this sheet regularly. And there are many drop downs available. So from there we can put it. Now from column number 1 to column number 21, it is the baseline information that we are collecting. So during the first visit, whenever you are starting a patient on DTG based regimen, you are filling up the AE form, and that AE form is put in the white card and it is coming to the data entry operator or the data manager. And the data manager now will fill in until column number 1 to 21 during that first visit, whenever we have started initiating the patient on a DTG based regimen. And now during the subsequent visits, then now you will start filling from column number 22. So this is for the follow-up information. And for the follow-up information, what we are putting up here is when the patient had come, what is the weight of the patient, what is the blood pressure, now whether there is a side effect or not. Now if you see here, if there is no side effect, what do? Go down. You cannot put others here. Now, if there is no side effect that you are monitoring, where do you put that in this form? Sorry, in this tool? So go to the right. Just go to the right. Yeah, right. Go. So here, for example, we are going to give you one column where the patient has not, during that visit, there is no complaint of any adverse event. So that will be filled, and then there is no need to fill all other columns. So you will be having these columns only for patients who have reported an adverse event. For them, we will be doing serially collecting the information over time. And this is for the first visit only. So if you see these green color columns, okay, this you are going to fill for the first visit, presenting with an adverse event, and for that adverse event, what all we have done. And when we say what we have done, I have enumerated this in the previous one. First is we write the date of onset. What is that adverse event? Then what is the grade of that adverse event? Then once we write, then what is the onset? After these three, then we write about missing the pills, whether what is the number of pills he is missing. And if you say yes, then it comes to the next column. Then after that, any new comorbidities. So why we are saying here new comorbidities is, in the baseline, you would have filled it if he is already having. That information is until your column number 1 to 21, you have already completed it. Here, if you are seeing a new comorbidity, please put what is that you are seeing it during the subsequent visit. This is in the first visit. Then you are saying what are the medications the patient is on. We are telling you to do it. Then if the patient is again being the regimen code, if the action taken is, for example, you are changing the regimen. We also want to know what is the next regimen that you have changed the patient to. So again, there is a drop-down menu that you are getting for a regimen change, and whether hospitalized or not. And if yes, if you know the reason for it. If it is no, it will automatically go to the next column. So these are all the things that you need to first ask about an adverse event, and then the physical examination and the labs that we are doing for that patient. Now there is one question in the chat box coming up, whether we should do a viral load for this patient who is specifically here. See, it all depends on what is the previous viral load of this patient. That is, if he has got it done last 6 months back and now you're just put the patient on a DTG based regimen because of a CD4, yes, you will get a viral load done as soon as possible. Or if he already has in the last 1 year and he's due for this 1 year, you will get. So based on the due dates, and if he's a new patient or not, follow the same guidelines for the viral load. There will not be any change in the viral load monitoring schedules for patients who are on or who are specifically being monitored or enrolled for DTG specific or active monitoring. Now, as we go, we will come to the next one. Just go to right. Yeah. So, and for the next month, again, the same things follow. So it may look a big sheet or so many columns, but the first 21 sheets can be freezed for patient. It's only on day one when the patient is getting enrolled. Later, you will have, depending on whether the patient has reported a side effect or not and what are those, only then we are going to do. And if a patient has one or two side effects during that same month, we also have space to record. For example, a column number 61 or 60, if you see, it is for one side effect. Column number 63 is for next side effect. So you have space to record more than one side effects in each month whenever we are observing or monitoring this patient. Yeah, we can close it.
So
Yeah.
just one thing to clarify here. So all the information in this tool will be coming from AE form other than the routine lab investigations. So routine lab investigations are very well collected in the white cards, and they are done at a 6-month interval, or like no, as per the periodicity given in the operational technical guidelines. So that piece you will have to like no, enter from the white cards.
Yeah.
Right. And secondly, when we are saying month 1 or month 2, that is after initiation or transition of the patient. So if somebody is like, no, you start this activity, say from 8th February. So somebody would be initiated on DTG based regimen on 8th February. So month 1 would be, that means a follow-up. First follow-up. Month 1 means first follow-up. So that would be like 8th of March when you enter this information, when the patient comes back to you for the monthly visit.
Yeah.
And also about the like no for substitution, for the change of regimen, you have to follow the technical guidelines. So I mean nothing new is being like no given and under is being like no prescribed or is being like no, instructed under this activity. So whatever like no can substitution is advised in the technical guidelines has to be followed.
Right. So these are the things that are put up in the slides for you. So this is 1 month. That is, whenever a patient is coming for a follow-up, this is how the Excel looks. And this part of the Excel is what we are going to fill in. Almost around 41 to 56 will be it, but it depends on what is the side effect that we have, whether it is reported or not, and how many side effects. So based on that, the quantum or the number of columns is going to be populated. Next slide. Yeah, if there are any doubts, we can clarify for a minute.
So there is one question. Can we switch patients who are co-infected with Hep B or HCV to TLD?
So there is no contraindication for putting the patient with Hep C or Hep C to DTG based regimen. In fact, it is advised. The only caution there is like if it is like no child PU score A and B, you can very well use DTG based regimen. But if it is child PU score C, then DTG based regimen are not advised. So you have to look for an alternative. But Hep C and Hep B per se are not a contraindication for DTG based regimen. I think
No more questions, ma'am.
I think somebody raised the hand. Just
Alpana,
Dr. Alpna. Dr. Alpna, please go ahead.
Okay. The question is exactly not a question, but a query which I had received today itself. A patient concomitantly started on ATT, means ATT had been started, and thereafter, after 4 weeks, TLD was also started in this patient, and then the patient probably developed ATT-induced hepatitis. So the counselor and the medical officer were not really very sure what to do with this. So since we had shifted to a modified regimen of ATT, so obviously the second dose of DTG is to be omitted in such a patient, because now rifampicin for that month or maybe for those very days for which we are using the modified ATT. So TLD need not, DTG need not be given in a second dose for that duration.
Yeah, if you're not using a rifampicin based ATT, then additional dose of DTG is not required.
And this is somehow not very clear to most medical officers, that they first have to, what they were taking it to be as an adverse effect of DTG, and they had thought of stopping on DTG as, they had thought of switching over, substituting DTG, because they thought that this hepatitis had actually happened because of initiation of TLD. But because ATT-induced hepatitis may not happen as early as starting ATT in the first few days. So this can very well happen to most other medical officers also, that they may assume that this ATT-induced hepatitis is not because of ATT, but it is because when they initiate TLD. And is it a side effect of DTG? That was their query of the
Yeah.
medical officers in the clinic.
So thanks for raising that question, Dr. Alpna, and I think that was something I was going to discuss at the end.
Okay.
But basically, like, no, see, when we are talking about any adverse effects or any symptoms like no coming up in a patient, it could be an adverse effect of any of the ARV drugs. So I mean, every time DTG is not going to be the culprit, and perhaps like no DTG is very less likely to be a culprit for any type of symptoms. So like no, please like no, take the entire ARV regimen as a whole, like whenever the patient is like no having any symptoms or reporting any adverse effect. That's first. Secondly, like no, this could be, and I mean in the A form you also already saw that we are like no asking about the comorbidity and the concomitant medication also. So this could be like no, I mean whatever side effects or adverse effect patient is reporting could be because of the other concomitant medication which the patient is taking. So that's why you have to like know whenever as a clinician, whenever like know the medical officers are managing their patients, you have to be like no mindful of everything. So please like no DTG, we do not know, I mean anyways, but then like no please just do, because DTG is a new drug, so don't like no label any adverse effect to DTG. You have to like no do a very holistic review of the patient and see like no on what other drugs, ARV drugs, as well as other like no drugs for comorbidities or co-infection the patient is on. It could be like a drug-drug interaction also, or like no some the side effect of some other drug also. So please like no before labeling anything as DTG induced adverse effect, please like do a thorough evaluation of the patient.
Yes, I just wanted to bring it over because what happens is that we initiate ART a little after we have initiated ATT, and it is almost simultaneously the time
Yeah.
for ATT-induced hepatitis to erupt, which is much more common than what we would see as hepatotoxicity because of DTG per se. But it is still because it's a newer drug, so majority of people are not very conversant with it, and they tend to attribute uh, even adverse effects like grave hepatotoxicity to DTG. So they were thinking of, you know, the question which was put up to me was, yeah, we want to change this. It all happened because when we shifted the patient to, we started the patient on TLD, and it normally has not usually happened with our patients on TLE. So then I had to tell them it is more likely as a result of ATT. So let's modify our ATT, watch for our LFTs first, and then decide whether it was the ATT which was contributing to hepatitis or the entire ARV as a whole. But this would be a little issue because for one, they are using twice double dose of DTG. And in the meantime, they can switch to a single dose for the duration for which rifampicin is not being used.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, so I think we will move to the last section of this presentation. So now we'll just discuss about the standard operating procedures for implementing active monitoring for adverse effects. So in terms of the overall responsibility, as I told earlier, this activity is done, and today like we have mostly the ART plus centers and ART centers. So this is done under the supervision and guidance of the nodal officers. And at the ART centers for the day-to-day activity, like no in terms of patient management and recording reporting, the focal point would be the senior medical officer or the MO in charge at the ART center or the ART plus centers. And their responsibility is basically to enroll the patients, actively monitor the patients during each visit, manage the adverse effects as per guidelines, and coordinate with the respective staff for filling up of the AE form and AE tool. Also ensure that the relevant sections in the white card are complete. So this is very important, and as Dr. Ramesh also discussed, that white card remains our basic tool, and this activity is just a add-on activity which is being done. So in white card, like no documenting the relevant information and adverse effect is very important. So please be mindful of like no of completing your white cards. Ensure that the AE forms are complete. If there are any like no peculiar cases, any specific cases, as Dr. Alpna was like discussing right now, so if you get some cases of this kind, please prepare the case studies, and these kind of cases can help even the others also, so we can discuss in our quarterly meetings also, as we discussed in the initial section of this presentation. Then the AE form has to be attached to the white card for all the patients. So like no, if the patient is part of this activity, please ensure that AE form is attached to the white card, and then you share the reports in a timely manner. So that is the overall responsibility of the SMO or MO in charge at the ART centers. So with this activity, we are actually like implementing basically two new things. One is the AE form and the other is the AE tools. So for ART centers, a designated counselor or a staff nurse, and this would be like nominated by the SACS. So we would appreciate that if SACS can identify the person who will be like no responsible for filling up the AE form at the ART centers, and send us that list. So then like it's easy for us to like follow up with the centers. So one of the counselor or the staff nurse would be like designated by the SACS to fill up the AE forms, and the AE tool will have to be filled up by the data managers. In terms of handling, so you know that AE form is basically a Word document, and it has to be like kept in hard copies with the white card. The AE tool, a soft copy is to be maintained in the Excel based format, which is like shared with all of you, and it has to be like no obviously like all data related to patients is kept in a password protected system. So that's what you have to do with this AE tool also. Next. So now we'll come to the patient flow, and whatever we are discussing in the patient flow are just the additional steps which are required, or the additional requirements for this activity. So this is like basically to complement the overall flow of the patient, which is like already done at the ART center. And so for this activity, I mean, you might feel like, because we asked all the staff of the ART centers to attend this training, and because all staff like in terms of your patient, whenever you are interacting with the patient, whenever you're examining the patient, you would anyways be like doing this assessment for the adverse effect. But the only thing why we mentioned about the designated counselor and the staff nurse was basically that to ensure that the responsibility of filling up the forms and tool lies with one person, and then these are completed. But otherwise, the entire staff at the ART center and COEs, PCOEs are part of this activity. So I mean, you have the patient flow, and the patient has to go to like each person as per the patient flow described in the operational guidelines. So that flow has to be maintained, and everyone as usual has to interact with the patient and give like do like whatever is the responsibility for that designated staff. So on the day of initiation, substitution, or switch to a DTG based regimen, so that's when like day when the patient is being like put on a DTG based regimen, that day medical officer, in addition to doing the routine things which you do like in terms of your like baseline evaluation of the patient, examination, lab referral, that is to be done. And then like it has to be ensured that white card is like filled up, all the relevant information in the white card is filled up, and in addition they have to like ensure that the AE form is attached to the white card. And as we discussed in the AE form, the section the serial number 3, that the ART number, pregnancy status, comorbidity and concomitant medication status, type of patient, regimen code before the patient was shifted to DTG based regimen, and the new DTG based regimen. All this information has to be like filled up by the medical officer on the day when the patient is put on a DTG based regimen. Also, medical officer has to ensure that the weight, height, BP, blood sugar, and other investigations are done as per guidelines. I also received a question on the blood sugar. Can the readings from glucometer be considered? Yes, they can be considered. And the patient then has to be referred to the designated counselor or staff nurse at the ART center who is supposed to fill up the AE form. Right, so each center would have a person responsible to fill up the AE form, and all patients who are part of this activity should be sent to that counselor or staff nurse. So now this counselor or the staff nurse will update the information from serial 1 to 12 in the AE form from the white card, because this information is already available in the white card. Then they have to follow up with the medical officer if some information is not complete or is not documented in the white card, so that we have a complete set of information. Ensure that the patient is referred for the lab investigations as per guidelines, and then send the patient to the pharmacist for collecting the drugs. And with this, you don't need the patient anymore. Patient will after this follow up the routine flow of the patient. So he will collect the drugs and go back. Now from these AE forms, the data managers at the ART centers would capture the data in the AE tool, which is an Excel based format, and all the information which is captured in the AE form has to be translated into this Excel tool. And then white cards and the AE forms along with the AE forms are to be handed back to the care coordinators so that they can be arranged in the patient cards. Next slide. Now comes the follow-up. So, I mean, what we were discussing in the previous slide was when you start the patient or transition the patient to a DTG-based regimen. Now, the patient comes for the follow-up visit. That is month 1, month 2, and we have to do 24 months follow-up. So, for the follow-up, the patient would be anyways, that's the current guidelines. So, staff nurse has to update the date of visit and record weight and BP. And height for the children every 3 months. Ensure that the information regarding the lab results is duly filled in the white card. So if the patient has undergone any lab investigations, that has to be filled up in the white card, and then send the patient to the medical officer. Medical officer will actively probe, and again I will emphasize on this word, actively probe or assess the patient for adverse effects. So you don't have to wait for the patient to complain anything, but you have to ask. And we are giving you a job aid also for this, which will help you to assess the patients. And your guiding questions should be did you experience any symptoms since the ART initiation or last visit? Are you experiencing any new symptoms which you now have? And then have you ever had to skip any of the doses because of the adverse effects? So these, based on these questions, medical officers are supposed to assess the patients for adverse effects, and then do the grading of the adverse effects and take appropriate action. Like if the patient is having grade 1 or grade 2, then you continue with the same treatment and give symptomatic treatment to the patient. If it is grade 3 and grade 4, you might think of changing the regimen. So those appropriate actions are to be taken, and the patient has to be referred to the the designated counselor or the staff nurse at the ART center. So now this person who is supposed to fill up the AE form, counselor or the staff nurse, will update the information serial number 21 to 28 in the AE form from white card or by asking the patient. So all this information has to be updated from the white card, and if it is not in the white card, then you can ask the patient. And if some information is missing, this person should go back to the medical officer and reconfirm or ask for the missing information. For the patients who are on multi-month dispensation or who are taking ART from the link ART centers, monthly calls are to be made with documentation in the AE form. So you have to document all these things in the AE form, and because you will not be able to do the physical examination on phone. So for these patients, physical examination and their lab investigations can be done whenever these patients come to the clinics or ART centers or link ART centers for their visits. Then with this patient can collect the drugs and go back. Now with this AE form, the data manager at the ART center will fill up the information in the AE tool and give the cards back to the care coordinator. So this is the flow of the patient as well as the flow of the information for this activity. Next slide. This is a screenshot of the job aid which would be available. So we have here like listed the common symptoms which have been associated with the ARV drugs, and then the your guiding questions here, and also like grading. And this information with this job aid, this will just help you to like ask and probe actively with your patients, and then you can fill up this information in the relevant section of your AE form. So this is for the medical officers. Next slide. Now, like, no, I mean, obviously we do have issues like the patient might not come back on the due date, or whatever was the next due date for the patient. If the patient does not come back for any reason, then in that case, the counselor should be making the calls to this patient, and during the call they should be like asking the patients to come back, and also actively ask the patient about the any adverse effects. If the patient is giving any updated contact details, phone numbers or address, that has to be updated in the white card. And if the patient does not come within the 7 days of the due date, then this list has to be shared with the Vihan outreach workers for tracking through the home visits. Sorry, we'll go back. So that's basically just to like ensure that our patients come back on time. Now, like, because we said your reporting has to be like sent to NACO by 5th of next month. So suppose your patient, the patients who are part of this activity do not come back by 5th of next month, then in that case, the data manager will have to like prepare the list of the patients who did not come back, ask the care coordinator to pull out the white cards, and from the white cards, like whatever information is available in the white card, that whether the patient is like transferred out, or patient has died, or patient has become LFU, so whatever information is like available in the white card, that information has to be updated in the AE form as well as in the AE tool, and so that the AE tool can be submitted to NACO. For reporting, so as we discussed earlier, so all the reports have to be like shared with NACO on this dedicated mail ID, aemonitoring.naco@gmail.com. And whenever you are submitting your reports, please use the subject line, the name of the ART center, the location or the district of the ART center, and the reporting month. So for example, if you are like ART MAMC, so ART MAMC _ Delhi _ March 2021, so that it's easy to like get hold of your reports, and they are not like lost, right? And the person responsible, so at the ART center, the responsibility lies with the senior medical officer or MO in charge, with the guy in the guidance of the nodal officer. So they have to ensure that the reports are like sent to NACO in a timely manner. Frequency of reporting, so for first 3 months the reports have to be sent like every week, and then subsequently they have to be sent by 5th of every month. And if you have any queries, you can write on the same mail ID, just say query, and then like send your query on this mail ID, and NACO and we will ensure our best to like to sort your queries and to reach back to you. So I mean, with this activity, it's not like a one-time orientation we are providing you. So we will be like happy to like support you all with like whenever you have any problems, any issues. So we can even have like these kind of sessions later on also, like once you start implementing this activity and have like more queries, so we can regroup like maybe after a month's time also. And we will also try to like touch base with all of you if you are having any problems, any issues in terms of like conducting this activity. But feel free to like reach on this mail ID, and we'll try our best to like respond to you at the earliest. Thank you, and now we can open for the discussion.
If you have any questions, you can just unmute yourself and just ask the question.
Thank you, Dr. Reshu. I think I'll urge every participant who is there today to please ask all your queries and clear all your doubts, because you may not get another chance to get expert guidance from people who are here today. Number one, regarding how to manage and detect adverse effects in patients who are on DTG. Number two, how to record and report them. please get all the clarity. In case you don't want to unmute, you can ask in the chat box. Thank you.
So ma'am, there is a question, when do we start this activity?
So this activity has to be started from coming Monday, 8th of February. Please feel free to unmute yourself. If you have any questions, we would be happy to take them. And in fact, the group will be benefited by your questions. So
We are just checking the settings. Namita, can you just allow the participants to unmute themselves?
Hello. Good afternoon, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, please.
Ma'am, one query. In weekly report which we have to send irrespective of whether there are adverse effect or not for all the patients who have been transitioned on DTG for that week.
yes.
And
For
the
all the
adverse,
patients transition to TTG or newly initiated to TTG during that week, or like no from 8th of February onwards. So all
right.
patients who would
So
be like no initiated or transition to DTG would be from 8th of February will be included into this sheet.
whether they present with symptom adverse effect or not, we have to send a
Doesn't
weekly
matter.
report.
Yeah, if we are not getting adverse effects, that's good, but we need to know that we are not getting any adverse effects.
And the job aid and all we have to download from this presentation, or will be something else will be sent to us?
So all the
Uh,
material has already been sent, but after this session, we will again send all this material pertaining to this session. So we will send AE form, AE tool, job aid, and also the copy of this presentation. And you will also get a recorded link also.
Okay, and then we print it out and use it
Yes.
accordingly.
Yes. So the only prints one is the job aid, which is a ready reckoner for your for your desk for medical officers. So you could take out the print of the job aids, and you will also have to take out the printouts of the AE form. So for all the patients from 8th of February till April or May, you will start maintaining these AE forms. So these AE forms are to be attached to the white cards.
Ma'am, just wanted to bring to your notice the events which have unfolded following DTG transition. One is that following transition and even before transitioning, we did basal fasting BP, baseline fasting BP for the patients from ZLM. And then we realized quite a few, I mean, I can't give you a percentage, but patients were coming with high glycemic levels, even so much so that a few had to be admitted and all. So whether the after transitioning, that is after a couple of months, the DTG was the precipitating factor, or they were already having high sugar levels, we are yet not very sure. But since we'll start DTG only after baseline fasting BP and extended lipid profile, we can actually pinpoint the reason for these kind of metabolic changes which are happening in these patients.
Yeah, so thanks for raising that. And so obviously, as we said, we do not know how our population, how our patients would respond. So which center do you belong to?
I'm here from ART Center FMC.
FMC. Okay. Yeah. I mean, obviously, as you said, there was already a basal issue with the patient, and then it got flared up during this course of time, or it could be related to DTG. So obviously we right now we cannot like put any association, but that's why we are doing this activity, because when we do a systematic collection of data from all the sites, then we would know like are we like having the same kind of reports from other centers also, from other patients also, and then we will be able to like interpret this information. So right now this could be a like what you're reporting could be some of the discrete cases which were like missed in terms of diagnosis for diabetes or their deranged lipid profile earlier, and they could also be linked to DTG. So I mean I'm not like saying anything at this juncture, but then when we have more data, we would be able to like at least establish some association or
Right.
non-association.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. That is
Thank you so much.
Ma'am, there is a question in chat for only those who have complaints, we take this performer, or for all those who are in DTG?
So all patients who would be initiated to a DTG based regimen or would be substituted or switched to a DTG based regimen, this proforma has to be filled. So all the baseline information has to be filled till section 20. And then like from after the patient comes after during the follow-up, like after a month, then the information about month 1 and then month 2, month 3 subsequently has to be filled. So it is irrespective whether your patient is reporting adverse effects or not. It could be nil information, that is fine.
Hello, madam. Is it from 8th February?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is it from 8th February or the earlier cases also?
No, not the earlier cases, only the prospective cases which will be started from 8th February.
Okay, thank you, madam. I was unmuted.
I think there was a question about the use of TLD for patients with renal function derangement. So I saw that question. So maybe if the creatinine clearance is less than 50, in those cases you have to substitute tenofovir with abacavir, and also lamivudine has to be like adjusted based on the creatinine clearance. And if you don't have like separate tablets, you will have to like reach your COEs for that. I don't think there are any more questions. These forms and tools, they might be looking big or overwhelming to you, but these are really like very simple, and they just have check boxes. So most of the times you have to just make tick mark, or like only like numerical values or something. So don't get afraid of these forms. They are very simple, very user friendly. Dr. Chinmay, I don't think we have more questions.
Okay, that's really heartening to see that we had good active participation. of all the participants. And yeah, thank you, Dr. Reshu and Dr. Ramesh, for taking us through what are the activities we are going to do in the next few months. So if anyone has anything else to say, or we can close the session. Okay, so since I'm not getting any other comments or suggestions, I'll suggest that the email ID that has been flagged, please take note of the email ID. If you have any further queries when you are starting to implement this, when you start to record and report, then please do let us know. And from NACO CST division, Dr. Purnima, who is a consultant CST, will be the focal point to deal with your queries. Please feel free to ask and put forth all your queries and even suggestions. If you have any suggestions, do let us know.
Hello.
Hello, yes.
Excuse me, ma'am.
You can speak, we can hear you.
Excuse me, ma'am.
हाँ जी बताइए आप बात करिए we can hear you. अगर आप बात नहीं कर पा रहे हैं आप चैट बॉक्स में लिख दीजिए अपना क्वेश्चन.
चैनल पोस्ट करना ना वो तो पता चल जाएगा.
हेलो हेलो जा रही है और ये देखो ये
ART center Meerut.
Meerut ART center, if you have a query, please ask, or else you can write in the chat box.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, please.
Ma'am, we have a question.
There is an echo. Please switch off the other device.
Yes, ma'am.
Nima, yeah. Please,
Ma'am,
yeah, please. We can hear you.
Now it is audible, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes.
Ma'am, we have to ask that every single visit of the patient should be updated on every time. Like we have to update every visit of each single patient.
Yes. So I mean that's something you do routinely like when the patients come. Section 13 you anyways fill up. And then here like for first 6 months a monthly information has to be filled up in the AE form, and after 6 months it has to be quarterly.
In AE form also, ma'am.
Yeah, yes. Because AE form is something which is being digitized and which will help us to cull out the information.
Even the patient if have no adverse effect, then also.
So you can just put no side effect. That is fine.
No side effect.
Yeah.
Fine. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, so I don't see any other queries. So thank you everyone for the active participation, and do ensure that you're actually actively involved in the active monitoring of AE side, I mean this adverse events of DTG. So I thank everyone who has participated today. So Dr. Reshu or Divya, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chinmay. And so in case if you have any queries, please feel free to write back to us. We will respond to your queries, and or we can even contact you telephonically also. So I mean, if you have any issues, don't hesitate to ask. Please report back to us if you have any issues, any concerns. I mean, this is not a one-time activity or a one-time interaction, so we would be happy to interact at a later stage also. So this is for all the ART centers. And secondly, again, I would remind you that every symptom which comes in a patient after putting a patient on a DTG based regimen may not be related to DTG. So please be mindful of that and see the patient in a very holistic manner. Do document everything, do report that to NACO. So that's our request. Thank you. I think we can close the session now.
Yes, thank you so much, ma'am. Thanks to all the participants. So the recording will be shared with everyone along with all the training materials, the tools and the form as well. And we'll be posting the recording on the YouTube also.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.